What if I told you that the biggest difference you would see in retirement would be your loss of friendships, a change in your relationship with your colleagues, maybe even with your family? And for me, this is vulnerable because it's something I've lived. It's something that I've lived over and over and over more than once. Remember my video, I moved and everybody hates me? Yeah, you know that one. If you don't, please go check it out. It it wasn't just a story about moving. It was a story about how fragile friendships really are when the circumstances that hold them together disappear. And in that video, I was talking about how we had moved from one neighborhood to another. And it was actually just our children that was holding us together. Okay, we weren't really friends. We were just acquaintances that were held together by the friendships of our children. So it's the same way with retirement. Retirement changes our relationships in ways that we've never expected. Retirement exposes the friendships that were based on convenience. When you're working, it's easier for friendships to happen naturally. You see the same people every day. Maybe you're talking over coffee. You share the same frustrations. Maybe you bond over the same schedule. But when you retire, that structure vanishes, all of that changes. It's not our fault. And it's not their fault. It's just the way it is. It's just the life patterns have changed. And when things change, we just our relationships change as well. So when people say retirement is different than you think, this is one of the biggest reasons why, because suddenly you're realizing that they were just your work friends. They were just your neighborhood friends. They were just your friends while you were raising kids. They weren't your lifelong friends. And that realization can be lonely. It can be hurtful. So changing in geography also changes our relationships. And I've gone through this myself. Again, I moved and everybody hates me. And I learned from that experience that when you change your zip code, a lot of friendships simply don't make the trip with you. They're just not interested in you anymore. People will say, stay in touch, but staying in touch requires effort. And even though we have cell phones and it's so much easier to stay in touch now than it used to be, people just aren't willing to do that. They're just not willing to give of themselves. And, that can hurt because in retirement, you finally have time for people and you think that things are going to be different. And sometimes people just don't have time for you. I want to share a story about our latest move in retirement. We're still in Northwest Montana, but we moved approximately 150 miles or so from where we were. And prior to the move, I was in a ladies group and we would meet once a month for breakfast or lunch. And there were several of us in the group. And on the last meeting that I had with this group, there was just the one lady that attended, and she was the gal that had started the group in the first place. And I told her that we were moving, and she was very emotional about it. She was teary-eyed. She hugged me and said how much she was going to miss me. And it was a very emotional experience. We said, well, we'll keep in touch, we'll text. And we moved and I did text her a couple of times and never got a response. So all of those tears and emotion were really just in that physical space, just in that moment, because once I moved, it was like out of sight, out of mind. We just were not able to keep in touch. And what I learned from that video, I retired and moved and people hate me, is that this is definitely something that retirees face. They lose the connections that they had with people. And one person said, well, this is where pickleball comes in. Pickleball is one of those activities where you can make friends with people of like mind. Because what it boils down to is when you retire, you may not have the same values that you had prior to retirement. Your money shifts, your lifestyle shifts, your values shift. I would say that losing friends is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your next chapter. Please let me know if you have experienced a loss or change in friendships, whether you are retired or not. Until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and trust your retirement journey. I'm Marlene with Rebel Retirement. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Hey, you guys, please take a look around my channel. I have hundreds of videos on topics including Social Security, Medicare, how to get out of debt, pros and cons of moving, relationship issues, health topics, and more. And all of these videos are based on my experience and what I have learned in retirement. And I know that many people are worried about money in retirement, and this is exactly why Rebel Retiree and I created our just-in-time retirement series. And it's absolutely free, you guys, so it doesn't hurt to take a look at it. It's a mindset-based retirement planning strategy that eliminates waste and aligns your finances with your goals and values. With continuous improvement, you free up your resources to create an abundant retirement lifestyle. So I recommend viewing the playlist on this channel. And to get the full picture, visit our website, rebelretirement.com. And if you are nearing retirement and worried about your financial future, you're going to get a whole different viewpoint. See for yourself at rebelretirement.com.